stomach is kind of queasy. I'll just say that right now.
Okay, we just went live.
Oh, okay, there you go.
Perfect. Hello and welcome to Nerdarchy for nerds by nerds. I'm Nerdcast David. Today I have with me Gil the Vlogsmith. How are you doing?
Doing well, sir. How are you?
Good. Why is it a vlogsmith though? You're an actual smith. You like work metal
Yeah.
and pound things.
So, funny thing, back in the day, I was still a blacksmith, but I wasn't sure of where I was going to go with that form. It was still a hobby at the time, and Felicia Day, the internet's queen, the nerd queen, if you will, had a contest, a gathering of sorts that she asked people in the community to become vloggers for her channel, and submit your own vlogs, etc. And we're going to pick handpick from a few of you. Initially it was like 30,000 people entered, and she narrowed it down to 3,000, and that was when she added like a voting process, and then people voted on their favorites, and then it went down to 30. Oh, sorry, from 3,000 to 300 and then to 30. And then she's like, okay, cool, after this though, we're only going to have 10 of you become part of our channel. I was number 11. I
Oh,
was
so
close,
close.
so close. I lost to a puppet. No hard feelings. The puppet had a pretty good shtick. It was like a worldish puppet.
Puppets are hard to
And
compete with.
I mean, they are straight up. I'm like, puppets are in the hearts of everyone, right? Most people, I should say, not everyone, but most people.
Yeah.
And I wasn't bitter about it, but I'm like, well, I got to this point where I was comfortable enough being in front of the camera, and maybe why not make this a thing. And I had a friend of mine, Jeff, who's like, hey, why don't you call yourself the Vlogsmith? It's kind of a play on words. You're a vlogger,
Yeah.
and you're a blacksmith. Try that. And I go, you know what, I'll do it. It's unique enough, when it's searchable on the internet, on Google. I'm the only one that has it. I'll do that. And so at that time I was starting to kind of like rebrand, and I had to change my Twitter handle. I had to change a few other things, and I made a Facebook fan page. I made an Instagram and all that, not having any knowledge of how to do any of that. I'm just like, I'll just do it. I'll throw it out there, right?
Yeah.
And
How old
eventually
is Instagram? Instagram was back then. I mean, it feels like you're talking about
no,
you did a thing.
it's definitely more recent than back then. But I mean, eventually as the time went on, and I did my damnedest to avoid it. Because I didn't understand the medium. It was just pictures. I'm like, you can't just write stuff like, I have more of the stream of conscious kind of mentality, at least
Although
personality.
blacksmithing seems like a much more Instagrammable thing than
and
vloggable thing.
even still, I'm horrible at it. I don't do enough of these pictures. I try to, and it's because more often than not, I'm in the moment, right? You're in the groove, and you're like, hey, I can't really get out of this mind frame. Why would I stop my flow just to take a picture of it?
Yeah.
I almost require an assistant just to be there and photograph for me. Like, hey, this is a good spot. Let me just take a picture. Okay, good, cool. You're right. And then I go back
to photographer.
Yeah. But yeah, and eventually it kind of stuck, and I got there was a few of us that didn't make it into the final round, and we called ourselves the Ronin vloggers of Geek and Sundry. And so we still continued to vlog in a lower capacity, not a daily or weekly capacity. And I enjoyed it for a time, and at some point, what I normally did was I had the video, and then at the very end of the video, I would ask the viewers, I go, hey, suggestions for the next project. And at one of the videos, someone asked me, hey, can you make a D20? And I thought, I don't think so. I don't think that's a thing that I could do. That's a very complex geometric shape, and it would probably deal with a lot of math that I'm not sure I have. I've done calculus at the time. I was past all the calculus stuff. I did the highest math there was at the time. And I go, okay, well, maybe you can try. Maybe just put a little bit, geometry in there, trigonometry, who knows, right? Eventually, after 2 months of just kind of, writing it, and literally, like the cartoons say of, we have like the mad scientist who's writing a piece of paper, crumples up, throws in the trash. I was doing a lot of that. And eventually I came up to the conclusion of making the equation of the volume of an icosahedron, which is the shape of the D20, the actual geometric shape, and equal that to the volume of a sphere. So the equations, both equations, equal them together, because I'm starting out with a sphere and I'm working it to the shape of the D20, the same volume, right? The same volume
Yeah.
is there. And I go, well, if I start with a 1 inch ball, is there a way I can shape that somewhat to make a 1 inch, D20?
Wait, are you telling me you hold a metal sphere with tongs and beat it into the shape of a D20?
Yes.
Like
Yes,
you,
basically.
right? Wouldn't it be easier to just make the mold and pour molten metal in there?
For sure. But then it's not blacksmithing. People do that all the time. In fact,
Yeah,
there are
yeah.
many, many companies out there that are doing way better than I am because
I think
they're
if you
not.
hit it with the hammer at least once afterwards, it's still blacksmithing.
It's blacksmithing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll just have a video of kink there. See, done, ship them out. No, I'm considering doing something of the form. Again, I've got a hydraulic press. It's not really meant for casting though,
Yeah.
but I have a
Well,
hydraulic
you know
press.
what? Like we were talking a little bit beforehand, and my
Yeah.
dad's a jeweler, and they would make the
Yes.
stuff out of metal. Then they would make the molds out of that metal,
Yes.
and and then would that technically be blacksmithing if you like first made it and then molded it and then cast them?
I do want to. In fact, I was asked by a company to make a platinum D20, and I
Oh,
can't hammer platinum, or you can, but it's not the same. You're gonna a small speck of platinum cost can't afford to lose anything.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
I've heard many horror stories.
oh yeah,
Because dad had worked in that industry for a long time.
yeah,
Like there was a guy carrying a tray of diamonds, and he
yeah.
sneezed.
Oh no,
Yeah.
oh no. Can't imagine, like it's gone, right? And then you're like, oh
And
shit,
then
that's
like
my
everyone's
full year
crawling to the floor
salary.
looking for these little diamonds.
Just kind of doing one of these
Yeah,
things,
yeah,
like there's one. Yeah, that yeah, it's similar. Small specks of any of that high precious metals is quite expensive. And so I thought about going to a company to have it cast for me. So what I did is I actually took one of my D20s and made a mold out of it.
yeah,
So it was a RTV mold, which is, for those who don't know, RTV is kind of like this rubbery material where you can pour the wax into it, hot molten wax into it. It solidifies, it cools down. You can open it back up, and that same cavity has now filled up with this the wax, and you have the shape. So I was going to turn that into a company up in Burbank that casts for high precious metals and whatnot. And the pandemic hit, and so I wasn't able to do
yeah,
that. And I think they went under, to be perfectly honest. I don't think they were able to recover from that, being that their rent was probably really high where they were based out of. It was like
yeah.
the whole building, I think, was an old bank, so it had the vault in the back and everything like that. But there were multiple offices, not just theirs. They had multiple offices and whatnot. But anyway, yeah, I thought about that. I'm thinking of a better means of doing it. I want my own line of castable
Yeah.
metal dice, but it's not going to be me really getting truly involved in all that stuff. It's just I go to a supplier who does that. I'd like to look for in the States. I know that there's a lot of Chinese companies that are doing it, but I'd like to have companies here do it more than anything. But the price goes up, and will people want to buy them? They can always go get them at the game stores. They can always go get them at wherever, and for a lot cheaper. So that's the problem with kind of my area, is that everything has to be higher price because I'm hand making it, or even still making it in house or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know like in the jewelry world, there's designers that get paid. And there's not many of them. Most people are just mechanics, but there's designers who's once you put their name on it, the price goes up. You could be
Yeah.
that for metal dice.
Yeah,
Uh,
for sure. I mean, there's a lot of companies out there that currently do a lot of that. There's the higher
yeah.
end companies. Um, who am I thinking of? Oh man, I'm
It's like Level Up and
Level Up. Exactly, that's exactly who I'm thinking of. Level Up does a lot of that. In fact, they have a
Norse
few of my
Foundry is another one.
North Foundry, right? They do a lot of metal. They specify in metal dice and whatnot. I think there's a few other companies. There's definitely
Yeah,
other
Easy
companies out
Roller
there.
Dice. We use them for a lot of stuff. They've done some
Okay.
cool things with fonts and stuff like that.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I want to play with. I want to have a stamp company make me. So normally I do these stamping. Let's see if I can show you. So these numbers here
Uh,
are stamped in. They're not engraved in, they're stamped in. I just have, little tiny number stamps that I go and, hammer on to the metal itself. That way no metal is being removed for those, those hardcore people. Oh, it's not unbalanced or whatever. It does nothing to remove metal. It just deforms the metal so that the number is in there. I want to create different stamps that have different fonts, right? I want to have, a nice, cool,
yeah.
maybe a sci-fi font or whatever, that kind of thing, Star Trek font.
I know, like Easy Roller. I think like they had a problem with like they're like other companies are ripping off our dice because they like all the dice companies, right? They get them made in China, and then China's like once they got your stuff, they'll just sell it. They don't care,
right?
So that's why I think that's why they started doing like the dragon fonts and the Elven script fonts and stuff
Right.
like
Yeah.
that.
Good luck trying to duplicate it. I mean, they'll probably do it. They'll probably get to that point, but good luck.
But it's a lot easier for you to go, hey, look, this is ours, and you can see why.
Mm-hmm.
Where, like, literally, like, I'm friends with those guys, and they're telling me, like, so and so, they're using our thing, and I'm like, okay, if you say so. Like, I would never know the difference. They all just look like numbers to me.
Yeah. In fact, there's a guy who I know his dice are being made in China, but his storefront is in California. Who took the fuck? Am I allowed to swear on here?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, good. I'll do the one time, but putting the
here's
F,
your one F bomb.
Yeah, my one F bomb before you get demonetized, right? The F in the dice, right, on the one face. One guy has now taken off and he's doing it, and people are buying him like crazy because they're mass produced and he's able to do that. And it did, I got a little salty from that because again, they were not mine that were being sold, but at the same time, I don't know, like it's going to happen. No matter what you do to it, I don't have the patent on the word. I can't.
Yeah.
Imagine being that guy and everyone's like, oh god, this guy, we got to pay him royalties every time we use it, so it was not going to happen. And the design, the patent and whatnot, or the copyright doesn't exist. You can't have it. So I'm at a loss, but it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, we've gone through the same thing with certain things. Like when we copyrighted Nerdarchy, and I was like, "What about our slogan for Nerds by Nerds?" And it's like, it's a handful of common words. You can't really do that. And now there is another YouTube channel that does say that.
Mm-hmm. So there you go. I mean, hopefully people know that you were the first, but again,
but that shit's all time stamped on YouTube, right? So you can go back and see years beforehand.
Right. In case they fight you on it, and I doubt they would. I don't think they would be foolish enough to do that.
Yeah. And I don't actually care that much. I feel like I get it and why people get upset with that, and like our content director will bulldoggedly go after people that put up our PDFs and stuff like that, which I greatly appreciate. But at the end of the day, I'm like, well, I can go try and sell more stuff, where I can go play whack-a-mole, right? From people that were never going to spend any money on your stuff anyway. Yeah. So it's just like, where do you want to spend your time? Like, I get it, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't know. It's a battle you're never going to win.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Again, because someone else will turn around and do something similar, or
yeah. For every person you shut down, 3 will pop up. So it's like trying to fight the Hydra, right? Every head you cut off, it grows 2 more.
And that's the other thing too, is that sometimes you kind of want that. Sometimes you want a little bit of that. Well, okay, fine. Yes, they're stealing my artwork and whatnot, but other eyes are also potentially seeing this artwork. They're going to ask where they got it from, and they go, well, it's got hopefully your touch mark on there.
Yeah, brand everything. That's my solution.
Right. And I mean, like, you think about Artist Alley, right? In various conventions, these artists are doing, I think, amazing work, and they're there for themselves ultimately. Yes, sure. They're trying to sell artwork that they worked really hard on. And I think companies are coming in there now and trying to shut them down, which is unfortunate, because there are things that I learned about in Artist Alley that I never had no idea about.
Yeah.
Right? Think of like Critical Role, right? There's a lot of people that are creating all their art and whatnot, and they're selling it. But at the same time, people go and ask them, hey, what is that about? I like this, blue tiefling. What's that about? and then they ask them, they talk about him and go, oh, it's a show, cool.
Yeah.
Is there anything I can watch? Yeah, go, watch the backlog of videos, and then suddenly you maybe have another fan that wasn't originally a fan. So it's one of those like weird things where, yeah, you want to try to keep your intellectual property as much as you can, but at the same time, bad publicity is still publicity, that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
it's
I
one of
guess
those,
it all depends on what you're doing too. I think like
for sure.
a lot of the companies have turned a blind eye to things like what you're talking about, and they're like, yeah, whatever. But I think now there's a thing with artists taking other people's IP, from which they've done for years and gotten away with it, and like they're trying to turn them into NFTs and stuff like that. And now the companies
Yeah,
are going, wait a minute, now
Yeah.
you've crossed the line. So
Yeah, there's that. Yeah, for sure.
or
Again, like you said, there's definitely the time and place for it. In certain situations, yes, it's cool, but if you're taking from the underdog, then you're not helping the situation at all, right? If you're going and stealing artwork from the guy next door, if you will, and
well, no, I mean like big companies now that's happening as well, where like it was smaller artists that were using their things, but now they want to turn it into the NFTs, and now like maybe DC or Marvel didn't care that you're selling portraits of their characters before.
Well, now they care.
But now they care. Yeah.
Now they care. Oh
Yeah.
man, the mouse comes hard at people that do stuff like that, and yeah. I know for the longest time I wanted to do a like a Star Wars script, little Star Noirs, if you will.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid because yes, it's a fun little script, but like if I get that done, even if I don't get any kind of money, they're probably going to hey guys, you're done. You can't do it. And
we've received our first, well, so far our first and only cease and desist was from Fox. Yeah, I think it was Fox.
Now owned by Disney though. So I mean, I'm sure it was by Fox, but yeah.
We did a Sons of Nerdarchy shirt.
Gotcha. Oh, that's a good idea. See, come on.
And it was like two goblins, standing on each other's shoulders, and the Grim Reaper outfit. And I'm like, come on, this is like total parody. And my brother had done the artwork, and he found a font that looked close to Sons of Anarchy but wasn't.
Yeah.
And then tweaked it from there. So it was like, it definitely wasn't.
It should that should definitely fall under parody law, but yeah.
But they're just big companies, and they just like, hey, you can't do that. Like,
you can't fight it. That's the problem. It's like, go ahead, let's go to court. Here's your fee. And you're like, well, I can't. Yeah. That's how they win.
There's no winning that one. Yeah. But and also it's weird too, because like their whole thing is like just using motorcycle rockers that have been around for decades and decades. Mm-hmm. At this point, half a century. I don't know, maybe longer. So they didn't even create or invent anything. Although, so I guess like the one company shut us down on it, but we did find another way to actually make that shirt.
Okay, cool, nice.
Because we're like, screw you guys, we're doing. Yeah. What the most infuriating thing about that is, like, it's not a person that goes and finds it and goes, hey, you have to stop that, right? Like no, they don't even have to put any work. They just run software that looks for certain things, so. For somehow I would feel at least a little bit better if someone had to put some work into shutting it down.
Oh man, there was he's not really a buddy of mine, but Eckhart's Ladder recently on Twitter was he went ahead and had I guess like a bot or people came in and tried to claim that a certain song was in a lot of his videos, and all of his videos got shut down because of it. Because no one checked on it.
Oh yeah.
And he had to go and on each one, every single one of them, he had to fight it. He had to go, hey, I'm gonna contest this one, send it in, contest this one, send it in.
So when we initially set up our channel, and we were using music for we actually bought it. Like there's sites you can go to and just buy like stock music or whatever.
Mm-hmm, right.
And then later on, a friend of ours ended up like remixing that, and that's what we were using. But we just had to send them like that documentation, and then it was fine. But, yeah, it is hard because it's like everything is by committee, or robots, and there's no like real person behind it. So it's like it's really hard.
Algorithms, got to fight it, but you really can't.
Yeah, our robot overlords.
I mean, Skynet. Yeah.
I mean, my Facebook account got shut down, and I have not been able to get it back, and or even create a new one because someone hacked my account.
Oh,
And like I watched it happen in real time, two-step authentication. They're like, "You want to log in from Germany?" I'm like, "No, I would like to not log in from Germany." And then they threw up like a bunch of like Sanskrit or something in Islamic or whatever, a bunch of images that were probably like terrorist propaganda or something. I don't know.
oh wow.
That like instantly got the account banned. Is there, they're really clever too because if they went in and like just deleted your account, it's a lot easier to get it back than,
Yeah.
than
And
doing
it banned, right?
that.
Yeah, no kidding.
So, I have some respect for their sliminess, but and it's hard to like. I don't know how people have like a bunch of different Facebook accounts because like I looked into it and like they use facial recognition and your IP address and the actual machines that you use. Like they have all that information
Hmm.
on us. So it was weird too because like I had that account longer than my kids, so I almost felt more attached to it than them.
Yeah.
So one of the things I've asked everybody when I bring them on, since the end times, have you been gaming more or less or the same?
So, good question. Initially, I was a part of a kind of like a home game, if you will, but it was played at a friendly local game store every Wednesdays, and this stopped a while before the pandemic, and unfortunately, because of the pandemic, nothing else came back up. And we tried. I'd done a few one shots here and there, but never, a continuing campaign. Only up until recently, though. Um, and I mean, I started playing Dungeons and Dragons when I was like 13, right? And my friends and I would love doing the whole like, hey, this week you're going to be the DM, and then next
Yeah.
week, Trevor's going to be the DM, and then Jim, and then Kaylin, and
That's
then
much better than most of the stories I've heard, where it's just like one
well,
person is the DM forever.
So here's the thing. It was like that, and then we just got sick and tired of this guy because he wasn't he he definitely did the whole played favorites thing, and he liked to kill people off, and it was like, and we're like, yeah, I really put a lot of work into this character, and we're like 13 sessions in, and now you really want to kill this guy because I didn't do the thing that you kind of railroaded me at the session before. And so we kind of like unanimously go, okay, well, you're done being the DM now. And we kind of tried this new system of everyone kind of rotates in and whatnot, and we had a lot of fun doing that. Again, we didn't really, at this point though, we didn't really care. We kind of stopped that old campaign and started a new one. And I ended up becoming like a dwarven monk because why not? And we were all like a whole dwarven family. We were somewhat like of a traveling circus, if you will, but each one had their own abilities, and we're not all monks. But we trained. This is during 3.5, so we all trained in acrobatics because we had to have it. That was
Yeah,
part
yeah.
of our thing. Um, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was more of a fun comedy based campaign. And eventually, though, it got to the point where my turn would come around, and people liked the way I told, or the exposition here, and told about this and that and whatnot, that they kind of wanted me eventually to become like the forever DM. And it's kind of stuck ever since. I've been the DM for most campaigns ever since. It's rare that I get to be a player in a campaign. Sure,
Yeah.
like one shots and whatnot, but never like in a campaign. And even now I'm actually a dungeon master for Critical Bard's channel, Let's Get Wild Mount, and I'm loving it. I mean, absolutely love it. It feels like home again. So only recently have I been gaming again, but at this time, I'm still the dungeon master. I haven't changed that seat yet. One of these days, I'll get to be a player. But in the meantime, I'm enjoying it. I get to write fun stuff for my players, and my players are great. Which is it. I don't want to say it's a rare thing to get a group of players, a group of players, because they exist. They definitely exist out there. But to see the dynamic between my players grow the way it has, because how everyone initially is just very kind of timid, right? They're not really sure what their kind of play style is. They kind of feel off the other players, that whole thing, and then they can kind of come into their own. It started really quickly, and I've been enjoying it. It's it's like mental popcorn for me. I'm able to
Yeah.
just like, oh, cool, just allow this to happen. And but again, I absolutely love being a dungeon master. I'm more of the homebrew dungeon master, so it's kind of fun to dive in now and kind of go out of my element to do a module. The Critical Role's Explorer's Guide to Wildmount module. So
Are
not
you
that I'm
running
pulling.
Frozen Sick?
I have not. No, no. I saw that. I looked at it and I go, that looks like fun. They might get to that point. We'll see
Yeah.
if they travel that direction. But that's fun. That is a I've been thinking about it. Yes. There's also a few other stuff peppered out throughout the world. But even in Matt's world, I'm able to go and do a little bit of homebrewy stuff, right? Just in his world. And it's been kind of a challenge to remember, like, who's that person's name? Shit. All right, I try to have my notes ready, but at the same time, I gotta flip through all the bunch of stuff and it goes, hey, so what's this guy's name? Like, you know what? It's Jort now because I don't remember, what the blacksmith of the town was. So pulling names out of my ass left and right like I normally do.
Part of DMing.
Yeah, exactly.
I write very few notes before session. All of them are like during session, and then that kind of fuels the later sessions.
That's yeah, exactly. That's kind of more my style too. I have a lot of prep for sure. Like this campaign, I started out in my head. I go, cool, what do I want to have become like the main setting
Yeah.
in this land, and then watch wherever they go. And then as they kind of nip away, or nibble away at various things, then okay, well, this seems to be kind of going in this direction. Then I'll plan for that, that little area. And maybe kind of tease the other one a little bit if they do want to go back, because in my worlds, I like to have things going on concurrently. So whether they choose to go down that line or not, if they they hear about it and they don't choose that path, then that happens without them. And
Yeah, you
so
don't head off the Dark Lord. The Dark Lord's still Dark Lording.
exactly. Yep. And that's kind of where I like to go with my style of DMing anyway. I like to have the wheels of time still turning, and depends on the situation too. There'll be times where I'll be like, well, I really wanted them to be a part of this encounter, so I'll put a pause button on it, and whenever they'll kind of circle back around, maybe I'll all right, it happens again, or it's continuing to happen, but now it's a little bit more extreme, just not to the very end game of it all. It's fun. I do enjoy it. Like I said, it's always good to be back in the saddle in the position of the DM. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like doing both, and I had actually been on hiatus from DMing without realizing. I just got lucky, and there was just like a lot of games I was in, and fortunate to be playing with good players and good GMs, and and then it occurred to me, it's like I haven't really run a game in like 2 years, and I just it just went by. I just didn't realize it. I just
Now,
spoiled.
do you feel that like you need to scratch that itch every now and then?
So, but well, when I say I hadn't been running a campaign, like like we run monthly fan games. Like I would do like I had like a periodic game I'd be playing with my son and some of his friends and my nephew. So like it wasn't that it wasn't DMing over that time. It just like I wasn't like running any weekly games, or
Gotcha.
regular games. And then it occurred to me, I'm like, oh, I haven't been doing that for a while. I should do that, So, me and Ted, what we generally do is we rotate out GMs, kind of like you were talking about, but they're different games. And they're actually kind of like different groups. Me and Ted are in all of them, but there's three different groups. Like he runs a D&D game. I'm running a Monster of the Week game now.
Oh, cool.
And I'm running a D&D game as well. So the idea was that we would play like two D&D games, and then like we would have someone else come in and run a different system for us, so we could play something else. And we had just finished up playing The Expanse, so I was like, well, instead of
Cool.
having you run something else, do you want to play and I'll run something? So and also the first like regular game I went back to was a stream game of Cypher system we had run on the channel here for a bit. So now I'm back to DMing regularly, and I didn't realize how much I missed it until I wasn't doing it, and it was just
Hmm.
like I had spent many years kind of being like the forever GM, so it was nice to kind of just like kick back and
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because my mind is always doing the creating, aspect of stuff. Even if I'm, playing a game or not, it doesn't matter. I'm still just, formulating, whether it's my own homebrew or whatnot. Like, hey, that'd be really cool if this thing happened, right? And
yeah.
I'd write a scenario on it, and so I can never
Does
really turn it off. It's always there, but it is nice to kind of kick back when you're in the player mode and you're like, cool, I can let the DM do all the not the work, but majority of the work, and then I just play my character
does
for sure.
blacksmithing give you like a lot of time to think? Like like I worked in and around construction for most of my life, and there's like many jobs that I've done that are kind of like hard labor and strenuous, but it's not like mentally I could just check out and do the work. I
Hmm.
don't know if there's parts of blacksmithing that are like that.
Yes and yes and no. Good question. So normally, yes, I can tune out for the most part, right? I've gotten to the point in my career where I can do a lot of the things without really thinking about it, right?
Yeah,
But there are times when I'll go ahead and have like a new project at hand, or even something that just requires my attention. I have to even just focus a
yeah,
little bit. And so that's kind of how it ends up working, where if I'm doing something monotonous and I can just kind of think about the ether, my mind is way up
yeah.
here,
Like
and then I have to, oh, something happening, and then I kind of focus down on the work at hand, doing small things, and then after I'm done I can go back out, and let my mind wander again. So but there is a lot of that for sure. I do think of a lot of stuff. Sometimes I'll just be telling myself jokes, laughing to myself. If you had a camera on me, you're like, what the hell is wrong with them?
I was wondering, like maybe you do your DM prepping while you're blacksmithing. I just got to make this bar flat right now, so I don't really have to think about it that much.
Right.
So what's the big bad doing right now in my world?
Yeah. And yes, I will definitely think about the Dungeons and Dragons type of stuff for sure. Before I was DMing this game, yes, my mind would wander wherever, and it would just, it could be like, all the things that I'm interested in, Star Wars and
Yeah,
this and that, blah blah blah, and or even just like like, oh, here'd be a really cool scenario for the script, and then I just throw that on a piece of paper, with a pencil really quickly, and then go back to work if I needed to write it down. That's one of my biggest things, is not writing down a scenario, because I think about it. I go,
yeah.
that'd be cool, and then I'm still working, and then I forget about it. Like, well, what was a really cool thing that I had?
I've
I had
lost the
it.
world's best
Yeah,
ideas.
yeah, exactly, yeah. And I do it a lot, oftentimes too. Like, well, I'll have a dream, and I go, that's a really cool thing, and if I don't wake up and write it down, it's gone. And
Do you keep a
maybe I
notebook
can.
by your bed?
Yeah, no, I try to put it on my phone, but
Yeah, yeah, that works too. Same thing.
yeah, but the problem with the phone is that the light turns on, and I'm like, oh no,
Oh
and then
yeah,
I'm
blue
suddenly
light, and now
now
you're
awake.
awake.
Yeah, and I'm just laying in bed, eyes open, going, I hope I go back, and maybe it
Yeah.
doesn't. Most of the time it doesn't. I'm a horrible sleeper.
So Poison wants to know what's the most difficult material you've worked with and on what project?
Okay, so the most difficult metal, I'll go two different things, because one was in the machining world, the engineering world. I used to be a mechanical engineer before blacksmithing, and that was Inconel. It is a shitty material. You don't never want to use it. You dull your tools, you break your tools, and it doesn't behave like any kind of metal. It's basically a extremely high melting temperature metal meant for the aerospace industries and whatnot. And it's just hell on your machine. It's hell on your tools. Um, it's not a fun metal. Anyway, that's the
What if you
machining
make
side,
your
though.
tools and your machine out of that metal?
It'll crumble. I mean, it's not going to be strong enough. Also, I think probably far too expensive.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and it's not like adamantium, where you're like, you have this impervious metal. No, it's very much just a difficult metal to cut. It's like, imagine if you're trying to take your knife, and instead of cutting a piece of paper, I told you to cut that rock. The rock is not impervious. It's not stronger than the piece of metal, but it's going to ruin your blade,
Yeah.
and you're going to have a tough time at it. So that's kind of what I mean there. Um, but as far as blacksmithing, absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, meteorite. Meteorite is the worst metal. It's just I can literally say now in the universe, it's the worst metal in the universe.
No.
What it is a composite of iron and nickel. And in the case of I've got in on my profile picture, or not, no, on my pinned tweet, sorry, on Twitter, I have a meteorite on there. That one was a lot easier to make than the first four that I made. The first four that I made was out of a meteorite called Campo de Cielo. And imagine if you had a small piece of like a pink clay, right? Then you grabbed a green piece of clay and you just kind of put it on top of that. And then you grab a blue piece of clay and you put it on top. They're sticking together, right? They're together, but you're not mushing them. You're just kind of placing them on top. Get another piece of plastiline clay, put it on top, red, and you just keep doing that over and over again until you have a globule of all this clay. Well, yes, it's stuck together, and for the most part, it's a solid piece, but you can, as you start to chip it away at it, you'll break it apart into these sections. And that's how it worked out. I tried to hammer it, it just crumbled. And I couldn't really do anything with it. And I had to spend so many hours. I started with a giant chunk about this big, and I ended up making only four. So imagine a chunk this large, and I made four that big, about this size of meteorite. And that's all I could do because it would just continue to crumble. Two of them went to the cast of Critical Role. So Laura Bailey has one, and Matthew Mercer has the second one. I got one because that was kind of my price for it. And then the guy who originally sent me the meteorite has another one, or the last one. But Mary McGlynn sent me this sphere of this Gibeon meteorite, which was a lot easier to work with. Still hard substance to work with, but a lot easier. I wasn't dealing with the things kind of breaking apart. The lattice structure in Campo de Cielo, in Campo de Cielo, right, it's all mismatched, right? It's just globules. On the Gibeon, it's a lattice structure. It's very, very tight. So I was able to work with that a lot easier. Yeah, so, for sure.
According to Google, meteorite is way more expensive than gold.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. This piece here cost about $5,000.
Yeah. And like I just looked it up. A gram of gold is like $50, and a gram of meteorite is like 1,000.
Yep. And it depends on the meteorite too. That's the thing, though. It truly depends. And like the Gibeon meteorite is a lot more expensive than the Campo de Cielo. Again, because of the way, the nature in which it holds better, right? Yeah, it's people, excuse me, people want me to make more of them. I'm like, well, yeah, no, I would go under if I tried that. So if anyone wants to, they can buy the chunk. And even still, it's like, there's no guarantee that I'll make anything out of it.
Especially when you're giving it away to the few people that probably can afford to buy it from you.
Yeah, right. So I decided, you know what? No, if I do it again, it will be a much higher price, and there's no guarantee. That's the problem with that, is that there's no guarantee. It can literally just break in half. And, what do I do? Because, I can't glue it back together. So that's the unfortunate part of that. But yes, for sure, without a shadow of a doubt, it's meteorite.
Interesting. I wasn't expecting to hear that on today's show, that you worked with me.
Yep.
Star metal.
Yep. At one point, I do want to make a sword out of star metal. I do want to do, the space sword thing, but I would have to like grind it down into dust or something, or melt it down and then make an ingot out of that with a stronger steel outside of it. So you'll lose all of the the pattern which the meteorite has, but you'd still be making it out of star metal. So that's the only good side about it. But yeah,
I mean, it's either that or the blood of your enemies. But
yeah, right.
So Brian Smith, do you use any crafting mechanics in your game? Skyrim fans always want it in D&D, but it seems to lean more towards a solo mini game.
Yeah, I do. Let's see. I don't think I've got it on this folder here. This is my DM's folder. I don't think I've got it here, but I have a small crafting table that I created a long time ago. That's not complete at all by any means, but it's a base of where I start from. But yeah, let me see if I can, let me see, just in case I can find it quickly enough. But it's it's kind of a hard thing. It's not let's see here. I've got so many I love our Unearthed Arcana. I just it's kind of fun to go through and pick some stuff out from
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
But
Ted keeps it all in a binder.
yeah, exactly. But I tried to do a somewhat different form of their um their crafting table. Now I can't find it easily.
That's that story sounds very
But
common.
I do have a crafting table of sorts that I like to uh employ. And most people don't really use it though. I had one for herb crafting, and I do have that one here. And so what I had with my players was they had to have a herbalism kit, etc. And these herbal recipes basically were based on the flora and fauna of the area that I had in Tremahia, which is my own campaign, my own world. And I had a monk who was a drunken monk. That was his, the way of the drunken monk, and he wanted to create salves and potions and tinctures and whatnot. And I go, you know what? Sure, I'll allow that. You're gonna have to make like your foraging check here, right? So if you're in an area, you may know that certain fungi live underneath downed trees or whatnot, or maybe you find that certain leaves of this one plant, or maybe the petals of this other flower, etc. And as you go along with it, I mean, like right here, I've got a squat root, quiver root, salve root, cud stem, patch leaf, night moss, and these were all like they had different effects, right?
Yeah.
And because he was a monk, he wanted to have a few things that were kind of like psychotropic, kind of, so kind of like to go into a meditative stance to maybe perceive a few things, because he wasn't a religious type of monk. So I allow that. Why not have a little bit
Yeah.
of that kind of happening? So I just I have certain checks that they have to do, which is not anything too severe, but they have to make it, and then that's kind of the fun about it. A low DC, maybe a high DC, depending on what they're looking for, and depends on the tools, depends on the materials, that kind of thing. So I it's similar to my blacksmithing um cheat. Yeah,
Yeah, I kind of want to do a barbarian that does that.
right. You
And it's
imagine
like
a barbarian
slapping
that
on
kind of,
salves like stim packs.
yeah, exactly, yeah. Ugh, this is my nicotine patch, but it keeps me not it keeps me calm.
Yeah, yeah. Or like when you need to not be calm. Amp them
Yeah.
up. Nice. So, do you always play in the same homebrew setting and world?
Well, no, I've done two of my Tremahia settings. One was on air, one was just a home game.
Yeah.
But I did this other homebrew game that was very much based off of Ebron, so it was kind of like a steampunk environment,
Hmm.
and tall towers, that kind of thing. And every time I did it twice, and this is when I was younger with my other buddies and whatnot. Um, I did it twice, and on the second time around, everyone got a ring of featherfall, because they're like,
Okay.
we were falling off these damn towers way too damn much. Let's just get a ring of featherfall, or a ring of something, that can allow them to, traverse the towers easier. And that was like one of their first things. And they always just resorted to throwing the enemy off, the balcony, and watching them go wee. And I had to like account for that. I'm like, well, maybe their enemies also have rings of featherfall, or just
They've seen
ability to,
this. They've seen how this plays out.
right, yeah, like, okay. But yeah, only really twice have I done this particular homebrew. But before that, yeah, I've played around other types and whatnot. In fact, one of the ones where we kind of rotated out was one of the other my other friend's homebrew. It was his game, but we try to work around it,
Yeah.
and he would try to do his best to kind of lay out the lore, and we'd always have like a book in hand where we can write notes and that kind of thing. So it's kind of fun.
It is fun. Yeah, Eberron is one of like the few actual campaign settings I've run anything from.
Hmm. I love Eberron. I really do.
Yeah.
And in fact, the reason why I did my campaign like in the Eberron like world was because of Eberron, because we played Eberron, we loved it so much, and there weren't a whole lot of more books coming out on it, so we're like, we'll just make our own stuff, you know. We didn't
Yeah.
call it Eberron, we just, you know, it was Eberron based.
The Arcana punk stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
yeah, because we're kind of like big home brewers, and like I don't know if you remember the competition Wizards had that like spawned Eberron.
Yeah.
Like we had, so as a group we had submitted a campaign setting, which is the one we kind of run, and then I had submitted my own called Shattered Realm, which was the idea that like the world kind of exploded, but there was this ritual they enacted that kind of kept all the pieces still there, and like there was airships, and it was kind of
Hmm.
cool to see like some of the things that I was thinking made it into like the official setting.
Hmm.
Um, but also like after seeing what they did, it's like, oh yeah, I was way off because I definitely did some things that aren't really good for generic campaign settings where you want to use all the books and all the things in
Hmm.
them. I think that's like a mistake. Well, not a mistake, but it's definitely a very specific flavor of game. Um, when you're trying to appeal to a broad audience. If you ever
Yeah.
make a campaign setting and start limiting things, inevitably you will have at least one player want to be one of those things you want.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Um, so you said you're playing the Wildmount game now. How long has that been going on?
It's we're fourth episode is this Saturday, in fact.
Okay.
Fourth episode. Yep. It airs 1:30 p.m. Pacific time on, again, Critical Bard's channel, and it's it runs for about 2.5 hours, give or take. You know, we try to end at oh, sorry, does it start at 2? It does start at 2. It ends at 4. I think
Okay.
it ends at 4. Yeah. Or do we start at, yeah, no, we start at 1:30. Jeez, I'm forgetting here. My call time is a lot earlier, but yeah, we start at
Yeah, yeah.
1:30 and
Just
we
show
try
up
to
at
end
one
at,
o'clock and wait.
yeah, exactly. And
Yeah, we usually do like 2 hour games. This seems to be like the sweet spot.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
I try to do 3. I used to do 3 in my the previous game, but
yeah.
looking at analytics, it people tend to drop off just a little bit right at that, that 2.5 hour
It's
mark,
like a
2 hour mark.
cliff. 2 hours is like a cliff. I don't even think it's like a little bit. It's
Hmm.
like it just seems like people watch for 2 hours and then I start leaving.
Yeah, right. And
Um,
because they're movie based, right? They're going to movies and they're seeing 2 hour movies, and then
yeah,
that's kind of their attention span. And but I mean, I'm not that way. I definitely can watch. I used to play 8 hour games. That was
yeah.
back in the old days. That's all I did. Was
I think
long.
that's different though. Like it's a different experience, and like when you're playing on a stream game, like you're like zoomed in and focused
Right.
on it. Where like if you're playing at a game shop or even your buddy's house or whatever, it's like people are getting up, walking around, eating pizza,
Hmm.
side
Yeah, it's far
conversations.
more lax for sure.
Yeah,
Far more lax environment. Yeah. I'm gonna
yeah.
go
I
to the
mean,
bathroom.
I think like back in the day, like people would start showing up at my house at like 3, 4 in the afternoon, and we probably start playing around 5, 6, and then some nights the sun was coming up when we would end the games. But we usually played to the wee hours. Now I'm
Yep.
old; I can't do that anymore.
Yep. No, yeah. Now I'm older, and my bones hurt, so I have to limit that.
I
But
mean,
yeah, it's a good old days. It was definitely the good old days of playing D&D. I enjoyed that much. I'm sure people still do now.
oh yeah, no,
Um,
absolutely. That is a young person's game. That all night stuff. Like it's funny because like when we first started Nerdarchy, we were recording our games and throwing them up on the internet. And it was just like it was terrible. It was like the long shot of the table and us, and like we'd have players like falling asleep at the table, and it's like recorded.
oh,
But
I
like
was definitely that person. Yeah, no.
but I don't take it personal because I figure you're playing Saturday nights and it's late and we're all grown and we work all week, before that, and it's like like you actually like you finally are not moving and you're sitting there
Mhm.
and you have an opportunity to be kind of like physically and somewhat mentally still. So it happens.
I remember a game back in like the later years of high school. Actually, I think it was a senior at that time, and
Uh,
we're playing. It's 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm just I'm basically asleep, and we were playing. We're in a combat at some point. I don't even remember how we got to the combat, but I know that we were fighting a red dragon, and I'm just like, okay, Gil, it's your turn. Okay, I'm just gonna cast. I'm throwing my thing like I'm gonna do that. All right, cool. Did it hit? No. Okay, cool. And I go back to bed. And I was just
yeah, yeah.
okay, Gil, it's your turn again. Okay, let's go to the thing, and then at some point they kind of just like he's asleep. Let's skip over him, right? Like he
Right.
wasn't doing much anyway, so let's just skip over him every single time. And then at the very end, we're like, all right, so we got the loot. I'm like, huh? What do you mean? We what? We got the what?
We got the loot.
I only did like 2 attacks. What do you mean?
Mm.
This thing is a high HP character or a creature. What's going on?
I was
And
gonna say I woke up and I got the kill shot.
yeah, that'd be funny. Yeah, that'd be great. No, yeah, you did everything, man. It was all you.
Oh,
Okay,
you.
sure. If you say so. And according to them, they claimed that I was actually still in the game, and they thought I was really active. So I'm like, okay, but
Yeah,
I know that for sure I was sleeping, but whatever.
it happens to the best of us.
Yeah.
When you do get to play, what kind of characters do you enjoy playing?
I do like the punchy characters. I like monks a lot. I do I play rogues actually, so I do a little bit of LARPing. This is kind of news for a lot of people, but before the pandemic, I was a part of a LARP called Twin Mask down here in Southern California, and it's a wonderful little community and whatnot. And I play a rogue type character because I always thought I would be good at playing a rogue type character, but there was never like that opportunity to be like, yeah, I don't want to, obviously I don't want to get in trouble with the law of stealing shit, right? But I think I could pull that off quite well, right? Be sneaking in the dark, do the stabby stab thing, doing the all right, take the gold, or doing the lock picking kind of thing, and sure enough, I was right, and I
Yeah.
played that character so well, and it was a lot of fun to be into that kind of thing. So I do play rogues in the D&D world a lot, but I was so happy that when that transitioned into real life, I was like, yes, I can do it, and play the sneak and also be something else of punching and whatnot. But fighters, barbarians, I try to stay away from paladins, and only because people don't. Oh man, this is gonna get me in trouble. I don't. People play a lot of people. Not everyone plays the paladin in that holier than thou
Uh-huh.
attitude, and I hate that. I hate those kind of paladins. So I avoid playing that type of paladin. Again, I'm not meaning everyone does. Don't come at me, guys. The internet's gonna chew me up for it. But no, I wish that I've actually had the good luck of playing with certain people that know how to play a paladin right. And I don't mean playing the paladin correctly. I mean playing the paladin not like that, where they see a demon, they go, I must smite you without even talking to it. Like, but I had okay, fine, cool, go kill me, whatever, that's fine. Just because I'm a demon, that's fine, whatever. And I actually I do like throwing stuff like that into games where the ambiguous bad guy may not be the bad guy after all, and you're conditioned to think, oh, demon, got to be, this guy's going to kill everything, that kind of thing. But at the same time, could be like, no, man, I'm just trying to live my life, as best as possible. Yeah, I'm a demon. I was born this way, but
Yeah. I'm actually a
shit sucks. Yeah,
vegan.
yeah, exactly. Actually, I'm a vegan. Let me tell you about it.
I only take the souls of trees.
Plant life, right? Yeah.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. I remember we were playing like a third edition game. Like, I mean, this is like going back like 20 years,
Yeah.
and like we defeated the orcs, and the only thing left was like the orc women and children, and the paladin just like murdered them all. He's like, they're evil. Like, we were like horrified before we could even think. And I don't know, you remember combat reflexes, the
Yeah.
feet? And like they all went to run by him, and he had combat reflexes and just like
Pop, 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 yeah.
pop them all. Yeah, yeah.
Basically put in there like in a blender, stick in a blender at the end. Right.
Yeah, and we're all kind of horrified, and we're like, why did you do that? And he's like, they're evil. And and back then paladins could detect evil at will. And
yeah, right, exactly, yeah. Gil endorses demon worship confirmed. No, come on, come on.
Only the
Come
good
on.
ones.
Ah.
Yeah, for sure.
um no, but yeah, it's a lot of fun to kind of, I do throw a lot of that into games just because it's fun to see how the players react to it, right? It may not be the easy solution of just slaying the monster, and it could very well be that, by sparing this certain creature you might find a bigger, better treasure down the way, or might tell you, hey, by the way, actually you might think that I'm the bad guy, but let me tell you the truth about the guy you who hired you. Boom. Oh shit. Now it's, that's much more dangerous. Yeah. Yeah. I just gotta, eat to survive. I'm just eating the farm animals. That guy is, enslaving children. So, that kind of thing. So,
It's always fun to kind of like turn the different tropes on their
yes,
heads, right?
I do. I enjoy that. I think far more than anything else is going and going, you know what? No, not this, but that. I do like yes and, but I throw a lot of the no, but that in there as well.
Yeah. Like so like one of the more recent games I ran of Monster of the Week, it's like they were like trying to figure out where's this person? We need to protect this person. But it turns
Mhm.
out that person was actually the villain, one of the villains. So like anytime you can do that and make the players second guess themselves and
Yeah.
make the villains sympathetic. Yeah, they're evil, but maybe they're evil because of all this bad stuff that happened to them.
Hmm.
And those characters are far more interesting than just like the
Yeah.
absolutes.
Right. I have yet to unveil this certain type of character, and I don't want to spoil anything, but I have this wonderful character made out to be like this lavish, he's living his best life, but he's technically the bad guy, but he's
Yeah.
in his mind, he's living his best life. He's just, has his posh bed. He's got courtesans that aid to him, and the courtesans are not really even for pleasure. They're just like company. He wants, he talks a lot, and they're just kind of like, all right, well, he'll be here, and we'll lend you an ear, kind of thing. and
Yeah.
and that's his whole thing is just, he likes to live lavishly, but he is technically the bad guy, and I want to introduce him in the right moment. I have to just wait on it, and if it does happen, for those watching, if you do watch the campaign, if it does happen in this campaign, it may not, but if it does, then you'll see it and you'll enjoy it. It's a fun little character that I have made for a long time, and I haven't gotten to use him yet.
Yeah. In one of the earlier campaigns I ran, we had an undead slayer
Hmm.
in it, and I forget
Was it a
what
Radiant server of Palor by chance?
the no.
Okay,
It
I
was
made one of those,
it
and
was
that's fun.
AD&D converted to third edition. So I
Okay.
feel like there was some kind of kit involved, and then we converted it.
Yeah.
And I was like, so I'm like, well, if we're gonna have an undead slayer, we should probably have a necromancer nemesis at some point.
Yeah.
So like instead of making the dark, creepy necromancer, I made this like, well, this is the necromancer if like Fabio was a necromancer. Yeah. So yeah, anything that turns it on can kind of turn it on its head is something that I really enjoy doing.
Yeah, I
Honest.
like creative people. I reward creativity for sure. If someone goes and, like they circumvent like literally what happened last game. I had an encounter set for 20 wolves going to come down on my players. Now they're wolves, so they're not that big of a challenge, but there's 20 of them, and so they're gonna have to fight, strategically. They completely RP'd right through it, a wolf encounter. And
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what? This is funny. I'm allowing it. Let's do it. I'm not going to be like, no, these are wolves. These are hardcore wolves. They're going to attack you. They did, actually, one of my players is a lycanthrope and was like, I'm going to transform, and I'm going to. What he did, he rolled a natural 20 on the roll too, on like an intimidate check, but he
Yeah.
said no. He went to my wolves and said no. And I'm like, you know what? I'll allow that. Fine, fuck it. Let's do it. Let's go with it.
Oh
And
yeah.
it
Yeah.
made for a great encounter. And I had my wolves ready to go. I was like, cool, they're gonna attack you, right? That's where they're going to go. But with a few other checks and other players kind of helping out and whatnot, it died down. And I'm like, you know what? I'm allowing it. Let's go with it. And I think that's the fun of D&D, is that you don't have to have everything be, super serious all the time, and you can have your your werewolf player say, no in a demanding manner to your wolf pack and somehow survive the encounter. So it's
The
fun.
the one adventure I was running more recently, they like, I don't know, there's some die rolls, some role playing, and next thing you know, instead of like fighting their way through the kobold lair, they get like guided through. So I'm like, I guess we're not using this map I made.
Yeah. That's the other thing too, is I sometimes not for this particular game, but I do love the aspect of making maps. I love terrain building. That's kind of like one of my also hobbies,
Okay.
pastimes, if you will. And on the Trimakia campaign, I made every piece of terrain, like, and every possible contingent piece of terrain, where that if they don't go to the main one and they do this other path, I had that one waiting for them, and it was
What's
a
your
lot of
favorite
fun.
material to work with?
The foam, the Home Depot, what
Okay.
do you call it? It's a pink foam.
Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and it's easy to carve, easy to work with, and you can style it, paint it, and make it look like anything really.
Yeah. Do you follow any of the crafters?
I don't, because I don't want to say that I know enough, that I don't need their
Yeah.
help, but I don't, because I would hate to be like, I want to come up with my own design and then find out that someone else did it and then go, well, not to say that I have like the original design or whatever, but I'd hate to be like, no, I took it from someone else. Um, Again, that's kind of the point of their channel. They want you to do that. But
Yeah.
it's a weird thing with me. I kind of like, no, because again, in my
Yeah.
head, I'm envisioning this encounter, and I want
Uh,
to have a certain way, and if I look at someone else's form in which they did something, then I might be biased to make it like that. Now, that being said, I have in the past gone back and go and on Google and just look up images of swamps, and even terrain for D&D swamps or whatever, and
yeah.
sometimes someone has built a diorama for like their Tyranids or whatever, and it looks really amazing. And look at the water effects and all that. I'm going to do that, and I'll make a little swamp that has the water effects, and the players can still stand around in it, and it looks amazing. But it was for their Tyranids, but
Yeah.
same deal. It's still terrain building, and that's kind of what I do. A little bit of that. Sometimes I'll look at real world examples, real pictures, and whatnot.
Have you ever forged any terrain pieces?
That's a good question. Yes, one time, and it was for an encounter that actually hasn't happened yet, because it was going to happen, and it was like, if you've ever played, oh man, what was that one game? It was a puzzle game. It was a computer game, and a lot of people streamed it at the time. But imagine a game like Myst, but it was one of the newer ones.
Okay.
And they had this, like, you had to move blocks in a certain fashion, right? And after these blocks moved, if they put it on the right panel, then something would open up, and the players would have to basically move in unison. And you couldn't move the block on your own. You had to have help, and so the players had to work together in this fashion to move these blocks around, and then again activate a portal to open up this thing, or maybe just activate a lever that does something on the other side of the map, or that kind of thing. Eventually move through it. When they're done, they can take their hands off the blocks and move through it. And I crafted these little tiny steel blocks that looked coarse and whatnot, so they have like that blacksmith look,
Yeah.
but then that rustic scale look and whatnot, but it was just a metal block. But again, haven't used it yet, because I haven't really had the need for it. I haven't had them go into a dungeon that required it.
Yeah. Ted uses a lot of terrain. Matter of fact, even our virtual games, because we're not back into in person yet. Although I believe like a couple of our groups are almost vaccinated, so soon we could possibly
Soon,
get back.
soon. I know. Yeah, there's
Yeah,
light at the end of the tunnel, you guys.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like I feel like a bunch of us are, and so we're getting closer.
Hmm.
Um,
I,
but so
I even me, I get my second shot this Sunday, so I'm really
cool,
excited.
awesome. I got my second shot yesterday. My wife got hers last week. I think Ted's got his first shot. In our one group, one player is an ER doctor, so he's had his for a while
I
now.
gotta ask, did you have which one did you get? Was it Pfizer or Moderna?
I think it's Pfizer. I think I
Okay, I had Pfizer, and the night of the first shot, I had a vivid dream. It
Oh,
was, I mean, like it was realistic to the point where I didn't know it was a real dream until I woke up and I thought, was that? And I second guessed myself too. I'm
that's
like,
the nanobots activating. You
yeah,
like
you're right.
they're
The
rooting
5G
into
is
your
working
brain.
now, right? Now we're all linked, in this hyper noosphere, kind of thing.
We're
But
Zerg
no,
now.
I thought about it, and apparently a lot of other people had it too. I
Okay.
go, that is really interesting,
I don't know
to
if I
have.
did or not. Probably wouldn't remember if I did.
I mean, a lot of
Yeah.
people who had them definitely remember because it was, it was my dream anyway. Had like everyone we're in a gathering, we're having a party, and everyone was like, "Oh, look at this! Look at us! We're all vaccinated, that kind of thing. And look at the past. The whole pandemic is now behind us, and we're enjoying this, this new, life again, the normalcy, if you will,
Yeah.
whatever that might be now. But it was very, very interesting. I've had, vivid dreams in the past before, but never like this. And I thought it was fun to just, mention it. And then someone goes, "Hey, did you have the Pfizer shot?" And I go, "Yeah." "How did you know?" Because three of my other friends also mentioned having vivid dreams immediately after, or thereafter, within 2 or 3 days
As far as
after.
side effects go, that's not too terrible.
Right? No kidding. I'm like, I'll take that all day, whatever. I didn't get any other side effect other than just the sore arm, which
Yeah.
everyone had.
I was just tired
Although
after the first one, and I don't even know if it was because of the shot or just because I was tired. To
just
be
tired. Yeah, no, I
honest.
mean, like I'm tired typically every day. So if I was tired because of the shot, I wouldn't have attributed it to the shot. It was just
Yeah.
hard day or whatever. But I did have a little bit of joint pain in my shoulder and in my elbow, but that was where I had joint pain previously.
Oh yeah.
I
So I
torn my
amplified
rotator
it.
cuff, and it kind of got like exacerbated a little bit, so I kind of left it alone for the most part. But after that, now I'm fine again. So it was interesting to have that happen.
Yeah. Were you
But yeah,
big into
someday soon.
conventions beforehand? Before the end
Yes, I
times?
loved. I love conventions. I did obviously San Diego Comic Con because it's close by here.
Yeah.
We have BlizzCon. We have the Anaheim Convention Center, which is the, oh man, what is that one called? There's the LA Comic Con. There is
I don't
I
know.
used to
You're
go
on
to
the other
Anime
side of the
Expo.
country.
Yeah, no, I did. I have. I've been to Gen Con. Last on when was it? I want to say it was 2019. I feel like it
Okay.
might have been 2019. I feel like
Oh
it was.
yeah, that was the last one.
Then I think that was the one I think that was the
Yeah.
one I went with. Yeah, 2019. And that was a lot of fun. I want to do that one frequently. I haven't been to Dragon Con yet, and I want to go.
Yeah. I
I've got
also want to do that one as well.
I want to have a lot of friends that are kind of like, yeah, come on, let's go. They have either homes with enough rooms that they can house me, so it'd be nice to have that happen, which is great. Or I've got enough friends that would easily pull into a hotel room that we can just share that and just
Pile
to,
up. Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, I'd like to do, I believe, the Emerald City Comic Con. I'd like to do that one. I'd like to do PAX, both East and West. What else is there? I know there's more. I just can't
Unplugged
think of
too.
it.
Unplugged's a good one.
Oh yeah, PAX Unplugged. That's in is that in
Philadelphia.
Texas? Oh, okay, Philadelphia. Okay, all right. I
It's
know that
also
I thought
it's
they.
my favorite one to eat. Um,
Okay.
but I also live really close to Philadelphia, so it's kind of weird anyway. But I felt like I've been to Origins and I've been to
Hmm.
Gen Con, and PAX Unplugged, and of those anyway, I felt like PAX Unplugged has the best food offerings. But I mean
Cool.
Philadelphia.
I enjoyed Gen Con for that same reason. There was a lot of good eats around, actually, literally just down the street
Yeah.
from the convention center and inside it. To be honest, there was a lot of stuff that they had inside a lot of the hotels that were amazing.
Yeah.
There was no shortage of bad eats there. Not, I mean, I'm sorry, good eats there. There
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
and none of it was to the point where like, oh no, I felt sick or
You're
whatever. So it
you're
was
like
great.
right next to Chinatown in Philadelphia with the convention center.
Uh-huh.
I think the one day we had gotten sushi and Doug was like, "This is the best sushi I've ever had." I don't know. But Philadelphia just has like a large variety, and like you can
Sure.
eat really cheap, or you can like 5-star restaurant it. So
Right.
it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah. But is any of it bad though? That's what I'm saying. Like, even eating cheap is still pretty good, right?
oh yeah, no, you can eat good cheap. I
Yeah.
mean, you can definitely find bad restaurants, but
Sure, yeah.
anywheres if you know I don't think you have to look too hard, but no, there's
Uh,
just like a lot of good places.
in traveling to Gen Con, we stopped in Chicago and we drove up. We got a rental car in Chicago and then we
Yeah,
drove all the way up because we wanted to kind of stop in that area anyway. And we had Chicago pizza and whatnot, and it was interesting. It was good. It's not the kind of pizza that I'm used to, but then I
no,
also had
no,
yeah, no, and then I also had New York pizza though, and that was many years ago. We're talking almost more than or around 20 years ago, and that was amazing. The New York style pizza from the hole in the wall places, not the
yeah.
chains, was so good. I mean, like, oh, just like everything, you can taste every flavor, and it was good.
I'm a fat guy, so I like to eat. So
I like to eat too. I'm getting there. I'm working my way up to that. Luckily, my high metabolism has helped somewhat, but at age
uh,
30, it went away. It went out the window, and now I
uh,
have to worry about what I
well, you got that
consume.
blacksmith workout going on.
I mean, yes and no. My arms are wonderful. My gut is still a gut.
Yeah, yeah. Well, all the video game blacksmiths, and they're always
Yeah, no,
depicted
for
as being
sure.
like
They're
with the belly.
definitely,
So,
barrel chested. They're just like, hey, how do you do it? Come on in. So their arms are just huge.
yeah.
I think of Tony Swann actually. He's a lot of people know him. He's the guy who made Hook's Hook and the Infinity Gauntlet for Marvel and all that.
Uh,
He makes a bunch of props for the film industries, and he's a tall dude. I want to say he's like 6 foot, maybe four. I don't know. He's a big guy, and his arm is bigger than my leg,
oh yeah,
right?
yeah.
But he's got this, just barrel chest of a dude, and I mean, I've seen him lift 300-pound animals like it's nothing. So that
The
tells you
only
something.
thing I really know about blacksmithing is from watching Men at Arms. Uh,
Well,
but I
there you go.
stopped watching when they switched the guy.
Yeah, when they switched to what's his name? The oh god, the Baltimore knife and sword guys.
Yeah, I think so.
Yes.
Yeah, I used to watch before that, and then
So Tony Swan, you watched Tony Swan?
okay, that was him. I thought it might be, but I wasn't sure. I have a
Yep.
terrible memory for that stuff, and it's been a while. Okay.
Yep, that's. Oh, I'm sorry. No. Guy, you said Man at Arms. No, yeah, Man at Arms. Yeah, Man at Arms. I'm thinking of
Yeah. He
Forging
made
Fire.
the
No,
Thor hammer and he made it hollow, so and then they filled it with
yes,
the shad.
yeah,
So that it would be like so no one could lift
yeah,
it.
right, yeah, yep. And yeah, I think he still has that one.
Yeah.
It's funny because I head up there frequently, not since the pandemic, but frequently before that. And he's got a lot of those weapons that he's still made, and in his showroom in there, and it's really cool to see. Um, a lot of these iconic weapons that you've seen in various movies or shows or whatever, even anime,
Yeah.
manga.
So cool. Well, we are well past the hour mark now. I won't hold you hostage anymore. I've been enjoying chatting with you, Gil. Any
Me
final
too.
words before we head on out?
Final words. No, I mean, I just I do a lot of cool stuff. You can find me most everywhere at Gil the Vlogsmith. I try to brand on multiple social medias and whatnot. I'm most active on Twitter though, so if you do want to chat with me, I'm most active there. I'll try to read as much as possible. There are times though where if I do get something like again on Critical Role, if they yell my name, I get a bunch of tweets and I usually miss everything in that
Yeah,
day
yeah.
because of it. But yeah, you can find me anywhere, and I'm free to chat. I like chatting, so we can chat anything. Dice,
Links
blacksmithing.
are in the description as usual. And again, thanks. And until next time, stay nerdy.